CEOs are using AI warnings as the new corporate whip to keep employees terrified and compliant. What if the scariest part about AI isn't that it's replacing jobs, but that executives discovered it's the perfect psychological weapon to threaten workers? What if I showed you proof that AI can only complete 20% of assigned tasks, yet Amazon CEO still sent threatening memos about AI taking over in the next few years? Today I'm exposing how AI has become the new hip corporate intimidation tactic, and why the real damage isn't to jobs but to workers' mental health and to company culture. Let's dive in today. Welcome to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer, and here at Startup Hack, we train software developers and build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. All right, so the dirty truth about AI threats, they're not actually job replacements. They're about keeping employees scared, overworked, and grateful for whatever scraps they get. While CEOs spread fear about AI takeovers, the real numbers tell a completely different story. So let's break down this corporate psychological warfare. So recent data shows that AI agents can only complete around 20% of assigned jobs as of April 2025. Yet CEOs continue to spread apocalyptic warnings about imminent AI takeovers. Amazon's Andy Jassy sent a memo threatening that AI will reduce their workforce in the next few years, while admitting it's hard to know how many jobs and providing zero concrete data. Now, Anthropic CEO claimed that AI could wipe out half of entry-level white-collar jobs in 5 years with absolutely no evidence, just pulling the numbers out of air. Even tech leaders like Nvidia, Jensen, Huang, and Google's DeepMind have pushed back on these apocalyptic predictions as unfounded. The pattern is super clear: vague threats, distant timelines, no specifics, classic intimidation tactics designed to keep workers anxious and compliant. Now, as a manager, one thing I've ever learned is that ruling out of fear is a terrible way to learn. And I get it that Andy Jassy has a hard thing to do in managing how many millions of employees that Amazon has, but these tactics are terrible, and they're just thinly veiled threats. So let's take a look at this, because I'm not just making this up, right? AI warnings are the hip new way. So this is one of the rare times you're going to see me quoting from CNN, but like, I'm doing it here. AI warnings are the hip new ways for CEOs to keep their workers afraid of losing their jobs. And they're exactly right. Futurism goes on to say companies that replace AI are realizing that their problem is that a big mistake, and human touch remains irreplaceable in many interactions. Now, it's another article about Amazon CEO saying AI takeover is coming. This is this kind of veiled threats, just like this is the same guy who used the return to office as a way to lay off a ton of people without having to pay for severances or those type of claims. Well, AI is just the new threat, right? And in this case, we're also seeing Microsoft might be starting to do this. Now, Microsoft is pretty upfront about the fact that their layoffs have not been because of AI replacements, but like, I think everybody in the back of their mind knows that this is still like a veiled threat. And then even Amazon is going back to their old ways and saying, hey, you can come back to Seattle or else you can leave, right? So we're still seeing these intimidation tactics being used, and I get it. I'm just, lest anybody wonder, I am definitely a fan of capitalism. I believe in capitalistic practices. I'm a business owner, and I believe in fair trade and fair opportunities, right? But I just think that using AI as this threatening stick is not going to be a great way to build a company culture. Now, finance startup Klarna reduced its workforce by 22% through 2024, ahead of promised AI revolutions, then had to embarrassingly come back and do a recruitment drive to bring humans back. A Gartner survey of 163 business executives found that a full 50% will abandon their plans to significantly reduce their workforce, right? And so all this talk already is starting to show cracks, right? Only 45% of corporate IT managers even have a formal AI policy in place, suggesting scattered and hasty rollouts rather than strategic planning. Companies discovered that security concerns and integration challenges are main barriers to AI adoption. So this isn't a big surprise. We've been talking about this for a while. So the reality is that most AI implementations require more human oversight than traditional systems, not less. So tech critics have noted that these agents are really just trumped up automations that require enterprise customers to invest time programming them. Now, Microsoft's own research reveals that rather than liberating workers, technology innovations have trapped employees into infinite workdays with constant interruptions. The typical office worker now gets interrupted every 2 minutes during an 8-hour shift. That's 275 pings per day from meetings, emails, and chat notifications. Workers receive an average of 117 emails per day, day and send or receive 58 instant messages outside of core working hours, representing a 15% increase from last year. So this isn't like from 10 years ago. This is just from last year. So an MIT study found that people who use AI tools perform worse than those without AI tools at all levels, neural, linguistic, scoring, over a 4-month period. So rather than reducing workload, AI tools are adding complexity, requiring training, maintenance, and constant correction of errors and hallucinations. So the data is consistently showing that AI augmentation increases the cognitive load rather than reducing it, making workers less efficient overall currently, okay? Now, I know that AI's got a long ways to go. This isn't me just totally hating on AI. I'm just bringing this around so that as people see that people like Amazon CEO coming and using this threatening language about, well, y'all better get on board, this is just a way for him to be demanding 60-hour work weeks and to be pulling the sweatshop that Amazon is. Now, if you want to get paid what Amazon pays, they pay a ton. So go work for them. Like, if that's your gig, then go for it. But just know that you're working for a sweatshop, and you're working for a slime ball like Andy Jassy, who's going to use these kind of threats. Now, Microsoft cut around 3,000 jobs, which was about 6% of its staff in May, and it's prepping to cut thousands more sales positions, but at the same time posting 13% revenue growth and spending $107 million per day on shareholders. Amazon has laid off over 27,000 employees since 2022, while forcing thousands more to relocate to corporate hubs or resign without severance. And again, I covered this before. The RTO was just a veiled way for him to be able to do a huge round of layoffs without having to pay severance and without the negative press, which he obviously doesn't care about. But these cuts aren't driven by AI replacements, but by pure profit maximization. And they're welcome to do that. Again, I'm a free believer in capitalism and in free trade. But if you're going to do that, then don't be a slime ball and just say it. Companies discover that they can maintain operations with fewer people regardless of AI. This whole thing about blaming on AI is just a threat. So the AI threat narrative provides convenient cover for what would otherwise have been seen as a heartless, profit-driven layoff. Executives use AI as a scapegoat to avoid admitting they're simply choosing shareholder returns over employee welfare. They're welcome to do that. They absolutely can do that for the health of their company if they want to. But in my time building teams, I've seen this playbook before. Technology gets blamed for decisions that are purely about maximizing executive compensation. Now, if your company has systems that aren't connected, reach out to us, because here at Startup Hack, we can make everybody's life much more pleasant at work by allowing them to work at maximum efficiency by having the systems connected. This allows you to remove some of the swivel chair data entry that you have to do between multiple systems, right? So check out startuphack.com/Spencer, because we'd love to help you out. Now, CEOs discovered that AI warnings are more effective than traditional layoff threats because they seem inevitable and technological rather than personal decisions. By framing job insecurity as an external AI threat rather than a management choice, executives avoid accountability while maintaining worker compliance. And that's what I don't love about this. Don't grow a spine, stand up and say you're going to maximize some compensation and things, and that you're going to maximize profits and lay people off. Don't just sit there and blame AI and try to hold this over people's head by flogging them the whole time. So a vague timeline of the next few years creates sustained anxiety without requiring immediate action, keeping employees perpetually on edge. Workers become grateful for their current positions and less likely to demand raises, better conditions, or work-life balance when they believe replacement is imminent. This psychological manipulation is particularly effective because it traps into broader culture fears about technological unemployment that have existed for decades. So the strategy allows companies to extract more productivity from fewer workers by positioning overwork as necessary to prove human value against AI competition. And that AI competition doesn't exist. That's the crap about this. So surveys have showed, survey data shows that 62% of employees now say AI is significantly overhyped, indicating widespread skepticism about the technology's actual capabilities. Workers are experiencing increased stress and burnout as they're forced to learn AI tools that don't actually make their jobs easier. The pressure to constantly prove human value against hypothetical AI replacements is creating a toxic workplace environment focused on performance productivity. Companies are implementing AI initiatives without proper training or support, then blaming workers when the technology fails to deliver promised results. Employees report feeling like they're competing against imaginary AI threats rather than focusing on actual productive work. This constant messaging about AI replacement is creating learned helplessness where workers accept increasingly poor conditions out of fear that they are going to lose their jobs. So, despite years of AI warnings, employee data shows no significant job loss attributed to AI automation in white-collar sectors. And I see people all the time being like, oh, but jobs are... No, they're not. There is no data to show that AI is contributing to these losses. There was overhiring in 2022, in 2021, 2022, and into 2023. These layoffs are from cutting that and from how long we've seen interest rates at a high value, from some of the tax codes that have changed, and various other things. These are what are contributing to layoffs. AI is not taking these jobs. So studies have consistently shown that AI tools require significant human oversight, training, and error correction, often creating more work than they eliminate. Every person out there that I've talked to, and I talk to a lot of people, and we use AI automations ourselves, find that at most it makes an employee 20 to 30% more productive, at most. And I would say that's only at the highest level and with developers who know how to use these tools. So the jobs that are being automated are some primarily low-level repetitive tasks, but even those, people are coming back to add the human touches. That's the part we're seeing over and over again. So AI tools are actually better suited for strategic decision-making, data synthesis, and high-level analysis, exactly the tasks executives perform. So if anybody should be threatened by their jobs, it's actually the executives and the higher levels. The selective application of AI threats reveals that their true purpose, maintaining power hierarchies while justifying workforce reductions. If AI were truly as capable as claimed, shareholders would demand AI replacement of expensive executive positions first, not entry-level workers. Now, Microsoft research confirms that workplace technology has created an infinite workday, and this is going to create more and more stress as we go on. The technology that was supposed to liberate workers from drudgery has instead created 24/7 availability expectations and constant skill obsolescence anxiety. So that means that people are needing to learn more to be able to stay up with the new tools. And they feel like if they're not learning these AI technologies, they're going to be left behind and AI is going to replace them. And this is exactly the big corporate stick that they're using. Companies use AI implementation as justification for increased productivity demands without providing corresponding increasing in training on these new tools. So executives frame AI adoption as inevitable technology progress rather than specific business decisions they're making for profit maximization. And this psychological manipulation allows executives to implement cost-cutting measures while maintaining the moral high ground of technological progress. Now, we recently just heard from Andre, who's one of the founders of Tesla FSD, one of the leading minds in AI, and even he says we are decades away from this actually having a significant impact on workforce. Amazon spending $105 billion on AI infrastructure while laying off 27,000 workers reveals the true priority: capital expenditure over human employment. They're welcome to do that. It's a capitalist company. They own the company. Like, they can do what they want. The AI investment narrative provides cover for transferring money from worker compensation to technological spending and shareholder returns. Again, they're welcome to do that, but just be man and stand up and say it. Everybody knows this is what they're doing. Executive compensation packages, although, are going higher and higher every year at Amazon. So you're seeing the executives aren't the ones missing out on this. This goes along to show that the AI narrative allows companies to pre-justify future layoffs and maintain lean staffing as a permanent operating model rather than temporary crisis response. So we're seeing that this is just a new way for them to threaten people and to be able to keep their workers working harder. I know that there's a story that I had to tell sometimes. When my oldest son was playing football, he was new to a football team, and he came on and was the leading candidate for the starting position for quarterback. And I'd ask him all the time if he was afraid of games or afraid of this. He said he wasn't afraid of that. He was afraid of the backup quarterback being better than him to take his place and get that playing time. And this is what we're seeing, the same thing. There's this mythical thought. Now, I talked to his coach later, and his coach said, I had no intention on replacing him with the backup quarterback. But in his mind, that's what he was holding against. That's what we're seeing here. We're seeing this threat that AI is going to take over their jobs, and Andy Jassy is continuing to plug that. And for me, I just think that's a slimy move. Again, it's his company. He can do what he wants. But I just think it's a slimy move. If you want to get your company to work harder and demand 60 hours a week, then just say it. But trying to come up with this threat of this enemy that's going to come is actually going to make his employees hate AI more than actually learning how to use it. So as someone who's implemented actual AI systems, I can tell you the technology is nowhere near capable enough to replace skilled workers, but it's very effective at scaring them into submission. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I love to have a great discussion. So make sure you leave a comment down below and make sure to like and subscribe. Here at Startup Hack, we'd love to train software developers as well as build custom software solutions for company. So reach out because we'd love to help. Check out startuphack.com/Spencer, and here's some great information about some of our services. Hi, my name is Spencer Thomason, and I'm a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and a solid 25 years in software development, I've mastered the art of transforming technology teams and products. So what is a fractional CTO? This is where you can contract someone like myself to come into your organization and get the benefits of a seasoned CTO without having to employ me full time. In today's fast-paced world, efficiency, security, and product scaling aren't just goals, they're necessities. My passion is building impactful products and enhancing organizational efficiencies through technology. From startups to small businesses, my approach leverages lean methodologies to not just meet but exceed your strategic goals. Whether it's through executive mentoring, cloud system architecture, or launching a minimum viable product swiftly, my aim is to make a significant impact right from the start. Recognized in the Arizona startup ecosystem, my journey has been about creating value and fostering innovation. I have led technology for companies like GoDaddy, SRP, and Wells Fargo and turned challenges into milestones. I've taken this learning and launched 7 of my own brands, and now I want to help you. So if you're looking for a fractional CTO who brings a wealth of experience, strategic vision, and a proven track record, let's connect. Together we can build technology that not only drives your business forward, but also makes a difference. Technology leadership redefined to fit your needs. So reach out today.